So at face value, Israel's war against the Islamic Republic of Iran looks like a military and strategic war between Israel and a regime who wants to eradicate Israel's existence. On a deeper cosmic plane, however, this war is the physical expression of our eternal battle against Amalek, or the existential evil force that wants to sever our connection from Hashem. Externally and historically, Amalek shows up in regimes or movements that want to drive this severed connection with Hashem forward in the physical realm. So take Iran, for example. The Ayatollah often talks about the fact that Jews don't belong in the land of Israel. He's trying to speak into existence a disconnection between the Jews and our homeland, which would effectively imply a breaking of the covenant between the Jewish people and Hashem, who promised us the land of Israel. Internally, within ourselves, Amalek is the force that preys on our moments of extreme stress and doubt. In Gematria, Amalek and Safek, where Safek means doubt, are the same. Think about your immune system. When it's weak, it's easier for a virus or a bacteria to come in, invade the system, infect, and multiply. The same thing is the case with Amalek and doubt. Doubt, you could say, weakens our spiritual immune system, and it allows the force that is Amalek to leak in and to multiply. And this often manifests in panic, in cynicism, in judgment of the other, in envy, and in extreme cases in sinat chinam. The roots of Amalek could be found in the Torah, in Sefer Shmot, in the story of Refidim. Bnei Israel had just left Egypt, and they enter the desert, and they encounter a site called Refidim, where, lo and behold, there is no water. And they enter a state of panic. And in the state of panic, their first question is, Hayesh Adonai bekirbenu im ayin? Is Hashem in our midst, or is he not? And immediately afterwards, the Torah says, Vayavo Amalek vayelachem im Yisrael berefidim. Amalek shows up and enters battle with Israel in Refidim. So in this moment of panic, or in this moment of stress, Bnei Israel express their doubt. Is God around? Does God exist? And boom, express doubt, Amalek shows up, sees the opportunity, seizes the moment, enters the game, and wages battle with Israel. Okay, so with that background, let's get into Parashat Shalach. Parashat Shalach is Parashat Shalach, and it tells the story of the 12 leaders, or the 12 princes of the 12 tribes of Israel that went into Israel to scout the land and to report back on it. The context is that Bnei Israel are actually quite close to entering Israel at this point. They're very, very close to the border of Israel. And even though God promised them that Israel is this awesome place, they insist on sending their individual elite leaders of every tribe to go in, to evaluate the land, to see it with their own eyes, and to report back. They want to know, who are the people who inhabit the land of Israel? Are they strong or are they weak? What is the land like? Is it fertile or is it dry? On a logical level, the desire to understand new territory makes a lot of sense. But on a deeper level, the story is that the spies, or the 12 leaders' motivation to go in and scout the land, was actually rooted in self-interest. What the Zohar and our sages explain is that these 12 personalities, who were considered the elite of Israel in the desert, feared that once Israel, Bnei Israel, entered the land of Israel, their personal status would be lowered, that there would no longer be a need for what they were able to provide. So in the desert, the service that these elite leaders provided was more spiritual. In Israel, the needs of the nation would change. They would become more physical. We were expected to suddenly work the land and fight different types of battles. So what these people were able to give in the desert might not, and probably wouldn't necessarily be adaptable once in the land. Once they feared the denigration of their own status, they began to doubt God's plan that entering Israel was a good idea. What happens when doubt comes in? So does Amalek. So what happens next is fascinating. 12 leaders of 12 tribes go into the land of Israel to scout it. They come back, and even though they saw the same exact land, they come back with completely different reports. So 2 of the leaders, Yehoshua ben Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh, come back and report that the land is very, very good, and that Bnei Israel will have no problem conquering and taking over, that it's nothing for them. The other 10 come and say that the land is scary and dangerous, and that there's 0 chance we'll be able to fight the people there. Every time Caleb and Yehoshua say, no, don't worry about it, like, we're gonna make this work, it's fine, the other 10 double down on the negativity. Their narrative gets worse and worse and worse, until they bring Bnei Israel into a point of complete hysteria. And all of Bnei Israel start to doubt whether going into Israel is a good idea, to the point where they reject the plan of going into Israel in its entirety. And at this point, God expresses a lot of anger, and we end up seeing one of the greatest punishments in the Torah come forth, where Bnei Israel, it's effectively decreed that they'll have to wander in the desert for 40 years, even though Israel's right here, like they're so close to entering. No, they now have to wander the desert for 40 years. And this entire generation that participated in this mistake will die in the desert and not be able to enter the land or see it. What happens next is a very, very important lesson for all of us who experience our own fears and doubts. How does Moses respond to God? Moses wants God to calm down and to forgive Israel. What does he say? He turns to Hashem and says, Ve'ata yigdalna koach Adonai. He turns to Hashem and pleads, please Hashem, may your power be amplified and express itself here in this world, here in Malchut. He's asking effectively for Hashem to increase the manifestation of Hashem's power here, because only Hashem's hand, only Hashem's amplified hand, could fight the force that is Amalek. We need an amplified version of Hashem's power here to neutralize the infection that is Amalek, that Amalek has effectively spread amongst us. The implications of this are humbling and they are profound for our day-to-day, and especially for this moment. We are human. It is inevitable, and it is part of the human condition for fears and doubts to manifest. Now, all of us have different ways of coping with our fears and doubts. Some of us go to therapy. Some of us obsessively consume the news or obsessively digest social media. Some of us project these fears outwards by criticizing or judging our friends or the other. And effectively, what we're trying to do is take back control in moments of immense uncertainty. When do fears and doubts show up? They show up when we feel out of control, when we're unable to predict what is happening. And the human mind, who likes to be in control and likes to predict outcomes, has its own survival and coping mechanisms to help us regain the semblance or illusion of control. But there are certain times where the pressure and the uncertainty are so immense that nothing we do is able to soothe or calm or conquer these fears or doubts. It feels impossible. And what's magical is that it's actually in this point of impossibility that the only remaining place to turn to is Hashem. It's only when we realize the futility of our logical mind or our old patterns to help us get out of the situation that we finally kind of surrender and in a moment of peak humility say, Hashem, I can't do this on my own. It's impossible. Like only you can get me out of this. The war with Iran is an external expression of this idea. We're in a moment of so much pressure and so much uncertainty that the only place to turn is to prayer. It's to turn to Hashem and to say, where are you? We need your help now. We cannot get through this on our own. We can't get through this emotionally, psychologically, and militarily. We need your help. And in this moment of surrender and in this moment of humility, of realizing the futility of our individual capacity to overcome our fear and doubt and the enemy, do we allow Hashem to come into the situation and to help us get out of it. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, may we use this moment of immense pressure to deepen our trust in Hashem, to deepen our prayer, to double down on our prayer. And may we not only prevail against Iran, but may we emerge more unified as a people and more aware of the wowness and miraculousness of Hashem's hand. I'm wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. I hope it's quiet. That's it.